Attention Saints fans, we need to have a serious conversation about Derek Carr, and we need, me included, check our emotions at the door. Because what I'm about to tell you, it's all business, it's not personal. Let me explain. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So, not only Saints fans, but typically, I mean, maybe some media types, but greater scheme of things, our opinions don't really matter, right? I mean, the organization needs to check their feelings at the door, too. And we're going to talk about Derek Carr because right now, should he stay? Should he go? How he's going to stay if he stays, or how he's going to go if he goes? Topic of conversation, and rightfully so. Um, I've said all along, just the way things are, he's the linchpin to the whole salary cap situation, roster changeover, everything involved that we're about to go through now that we have a head coach who's assembling a staff who's going to be part of the decision making. So decisions, while right now everybody wants them, they tried to corner him yesterday in his press conference to get one. It's just not going to happen right now, but it will happen relatively soon. I don't think they're going to wait till March 12th when the league opens to drop the bomb on us, so to speak. I think we'll know something before that. It's just not going to be now. And he's just become I don't know how else to explain it, just like front and center because of the reasons I just said, but also because I think it is an emotional thing when it comes to him. And in my opinion, I'm going to clearly state this up front, whether he stays or goes, in what either scenario entails, if he stays or goes, it's all about the numbers. It's by the numbers. And I'm not talking about the numbers on the field as far as production. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this one of the few times that Mickey Loomis is right when he says, oh, you kind of look beyond the production. But in this case, it kind of does matter in this sense. It's not the numbers on the field, it's the number in the ledgers. Right now, the numbers in the ledgers for the Saints is dictating their moves because they're kind of out of moves. I explain. But before we start this off, we have to acknowledge what I've been calling the Derek Carr divide. Fans and even some media types who are loud about it they're just like, there's no middle ground. There's appears to be large and vocal group don't support Derek Carr and want him going. And there appears to be a large and vocal group who support Derek Carr and want him to stay and be the quarterback next year. There seems to be, as far as I can tell, smaller, because we're non-vocal about it most of the time, group that I'm a member of going, I can honestly see both sides of that argument. And if we had leverage and leeway, not only in the salary cap, but also with negotiating with Derek Carr, maybe we could work something out, but we don't have either. So to me, that's the personal side, not business, because it's a non-starter. Those things aren't dictating whether he should be here as a starting quarterback in 2025 or not. It's about the money. We'll get to the numbers, and I'll show you why. But to me, I consider him to be not an average NFL quarterback, in the average category of NFL quarterbacks, meaning basically any given Sunday, he can play really, really good. Any given Sunday, he can play really, really bad. But I think most given Sundays, he's somewhere in the middle. And I think he's in a group of quarterbacks, to put names on it, similar to Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins. And you can nitpick who's better and who's not better, but I think they all fall in that category that you watch him some days, you're like, shit, he's got it today. We're going to win. You watch him other days and go, we're in trouble. Most games are in between where you're hoping you win. And in those guys' case, when you don't win, they take a lot of heat for it. And when they do win, I think they've moved to the point where some people don't give them enough credit when they have played well enough to win. But if you just look at the business and put the personal aside, you're going to find Look, you could be worse off with quarterbacks in the league. You could absolutely be better off with other quarterbacks in the league. They just kind of hover in the middle. In his sin, and in the cases of the other two I brought up, their biggest sin was saying yes to a contract that was given to them by an organization that never should have been given to them. In the Saints case specifically, it's mainly because they gave him a big contract they couldn't afford and can't get out of. And let's change the name. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you scratch out Derek Carr and put the name Patrick Mahomes in the same exact situation we're in right now, what he's in the same boat, that's sinking, trying to keep it afloat. The only difference is Patrick Mahomes could probably pull it off, but we know I feel Derek Carr can't, not by himself. Love to get him some help, but now we've just come full circle back around to being $54 million over the cap with not a lot of moves available to us. Now, here's the dirty little secret when we go into the numbers in a second. Nobody's talking about this. I think we might be on the verge of talking about it because yesterday it seems Taysom Hill's name's coming up going, well, he might not be a Saint anymore. Dirty secret that nobody wants to admit, that just like we were talking about Derek Carr is the perfect setup for what I really want to talk about. Sorry if I misled you a little bit, but I definitely want to get your attention. And you throw Patrick Mahomes' name in there and we go, well, yeah, obviously you keep him in. Well, that would mean all the other guys in the boat, a lot of them are going, and it's going to be very difficult to move them, and it's going to be painful, and it's still going to affect your salary cap in some way down the road. It's not all roses and kittens. But forget about putting Patrick Mahomes' name where Derek Carr's name is. Say Taysom Hill. Say Cam Jordan. Say Demario Davis. Say Tyrann Mathieu. Say Carl Granderson. Say Eric McCoy. Say Cesar Ruiz. These are all the guys who had the very top salary, cap hit, dead money. And those three things are not the same thing. They've been being used interchangeably a lot lately. Three different things. But they're up there in all of them. So they are the names that are, as we're talking about, check your feelings at the door. This is all business. It's not personal. But what it boils down to, some combinations of those names are going to be gone this year. Some combinations of those names are going to benefit by getting some type of restructure, extension, odds are more money in some way, shape, or form, even though it may look like a pay cut. They like to do that, which ultimately means adding some more dead money on the back of our books. The phrase kicking the can down the road. Some cans are getting kicked in this scenario. There's just no way around it. The summation, what we as fans have to accept. Look, organization put us in this place, and as Saints fans, I would like to not see us necessarily arguing over the specific players as far as their ability on the field, because it's a moot argument. Right now, we are in a position where you can't use the argument of he can help us win in 2025, or we're better off moving on to these guys because 2025 is a write-off and we're looking forward to 2026. Problem is, you just don't have the room to make decisions based on how they perform on the field. You have to make the decision based on the ledger. And it is strictly to the point where the organization put themselves and all of us in where, hey, man, it's all business. It is not personal. So breaking down the numbers, going to overthecap.com, it's just the easiest place to visualize what we're going to be talking about. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it is important to grasp some very basic concepts. Before we do that, one of the numbers, and it's actually a group of numbers, kind of has annoyed me as this conversation has started, of who's going to stay and who's going to go. And Carr is, again, kind of a lightning rod for this. A lot of people vocally are saying, look, age 34, 11 years accrued in the league. Some injury problems stacked up last year. He's a declining player. Why would you want to keep him? Fair enough. Fair point. However, where my aggravation comes in, and there's some media types that are really, I'm going to say, guilty of this. Other players come up, they won't use the same criteria. And the players we're going to talk about, how they're all interwoven, Carr being the leader of them so far, but you have a list of 6, 7, 8, 9 names right under him. That I don't know if it's a criticism or opinion or whatever they have of Carr as a declining player. They have age, they have accrued years, they're developing an injury history. And there's a group of those players that are in multiple categories of those three. Argument's good for one, or counter argument's good for one, it's good for all of them. I really do think that that distinction needs to be made because they are so closely tied together in three categories, the three major categories. When it comes to the discussion, that people, again, are sometimes salary, base salary, cap number, and dead money. Three completely different categories. Definitely, in almost all cases, three completely different numbers, all equally important. And they kind of get lumped together in this conversation. And using Derek Carr, because he's actually a pretty good one to use to talk about this. His base salary is base salary. It's $30 million. March 15th, it becomes fully guaranteed. Right now, you cut him, you don't pay him a penny of this money. His cap number right now is including that $30 million plus the prorated signing bonus. We'll get to that in a second. Plus actual $10 million guaranteed. That comes from a roster bonus on March 16th in 2024. He was on the roster. He got $10 million guaranteed in 2025. There it is. Those three numbers, that's his cap number. That's what the NFL is using to figure out whether or not the Saints are over or under the cap. $51 million of it. However, that is not his dead money. His dead money, all dead money is cash paid. Cash owed, in a way. We'll get to that in a second. Because if you add his prorated signing bonus, this money's already paid to him. He's already spent it, did whatever he did with it. I don't know. But for the Saints' purposes of all that money, of a check they've already cut him in signing bonuses, it's got 4 years of dead money on it. When you add them all together, there's your number. So the cap savings is the difference between his cap number, adding up everything that is owed, will be owed, or plus the proration of that signing bonus at $11.458 million, as opposed to his actual dead money, which is the four numbers in this column. That's your cap savings if you cut him June 1st. Clearly, distinctly, fans, just kind of keep merging those numbers together, and it makes the conversation cloudier because you're kind of crossing the stream, so to speak. They kind of tend to jump from one category to another. And I'm not faulting him or blasting him for it because this is a very stupid, in my opinion, concept, the way the NFL and teams, and especially the Saints, handle all this. But you wrap your head around it, it kind of makes sense. In a defense, a lot of these people, I was one of those people not even a year ago, and the sports accountant had to spend hours trying to get through to me that's three separate issues that are going on that all affect how the cap works. The other thing that keeps getting muddled that's very, very important is talking about whether you cut him pre-June 1st, which is the 1.3 million roughly in savings, or you cut him post. And they keep referring to this 30 million as a cap savings. Technically it is. But you do not get it till June 2nd if you designated him post June 1st. So the Saints still have to clear that 54 million, even if they use him as a June 1st, post June 1st designation. Still got to clear $54 million in cap. They won't get that $30 million until June 2nd. But you look how this plays out in everybody else. You're talking Cam Jordan, you're talking Taysom Hill, Eric McCoy, Demario Davis, like we said. Age, years accrued, injury history, all kind of wrap up in these names, but also the same issues when you're looking at Carr's contract. You're looking at the higher base salaries on the team. You've got a lot of dead money associated with. You've got to clear the cap space, and most of these contracts as a post or pre-June 1st cut, no cap savings or so little cap savings as to not make a difference. So in the three categories, much like Carr tops, it's number one in all three. These players are filling the same second, third, fourth interchangeably, but that's what's clogging at the top of your roster. So the point of this is just to show it is business. And any changes that are coming, and changes need to come, and we all know that it has to happen, but it's boiling down to cut a player or players, another player or players are actually through restructure or extension or however they're going to work it, it's going to likely get more years and more money. And they may call it, we've seen teams do this, they took a pay cut when they really didn't. What you did was is you jammed a bunch of money into a signing bonus, to spread out, and paid them a little bit more on the back end or in the following year, which is the equivalent of kicking the can down the road, because that's kind of how we always did it. We did it with multiple players for too many years. That's how you get here. You'd like to quit doing it until you get all this fixed. But the bottom line is somebody somewhere is going to get that. And you just kind of have to go through these top names and figure out who stays, who goes, what's it going to look like, who gets the benefit of someone we're likely to say, man, why did they extend him? Why did he get more money? Why was his can kicked down the road? Whatever. Well, that's the reason why, because somebody's going to get that benefit off this top 10 or so you can move on from somebody else. It's why it's business, not personal. As a Saints fan, I just really wish we as a fandom could recognize that the people covering the team, talking about the team, just kind of taking a step back and going, so people we'd like to move on from aren't going to move on. They have to stay. Some people we would like to stay, we might have to move on from. It all starts with Derek Carr, but sooner or later, all these names are going to be interchangeable. Just simply the way it is. May not have to like it, but that's the reality. So just another couple of pieces of news. There are some recent additions to the Saints. One is a coach. Chase Hazlitt, name should sound familiar. Former head coach Jim Hazlitt's son. He's tight end coach of Dallas. He's now been hired or brought on to Kellen Moore's staff as a tight ends coach. Joins Brendan Nugent, the offensive line coach, Keith Williams, wide receiver coach. So the offensive side's taking a little shape. Still don't know what's going on the defensive side, but feel like once the coordinator is officially named, the rest of that's going to kind of fall into place also. Also, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was brought back on a one-year deal, which I'm liking. We all kind of know Clyde went through a bad stretch there based on some stuff that happened in when he was in college at LSU. Seems to kind of work through that, showed up here at the end of the year, and it looked like there was some juice there. Wish we'd have got him on the field more and used him a little more, but it didn't work out that way. But still, we saw going, maybe he's ready to kind of resume his NFL career at a high level like he was playing the first couple of years in Kansas City until all that kind of stuff caught up to him. It also likely means we're probably moving on officially from Jamal Williams. Business, not personal, Jamal. It's just, I think it is time to move on from him. Kind of ties that all together. Gives us a little bit of depth situation in that running back room while we're trying to figure out exactly. Again, how much more we've got left in Kamara, and whether we can count on Kendre Miller or not. I think both of those kind of a bit of good news, and I expect more of that to come on a little, not a little, probably significantly start speeding up starting next week about the coaching staff. And then once all that's in place, I think that's the key to figuring out who's going to stay, who's going to go, what the roster is going to look like. Because I don't think you can make too many of those deep decisions until you have all the coaches and their input into what's going on there. So we got for you today on this Valentine's Day edition. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody, and a pretty good place to go get a Valentine's Day gift if you haven't already done so. And you're probably in big trouble if you haven't, but it doesn't matter. We've got the Black and Gold Network.myshopify.com. It's an online store. Get your merch. And right now, use the discount code MORE19. Celebrating that Kellen Moore is the 19th head coach in New Orleans Saints history. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now. Appreciate everybody joining today. Like I said, we're just going to kind of start talking next week about whatever comes up. Probably some coaching rumors, and maybe the conversation is started. Maybe we'll find out a little more where the roster is headed and where the tough decisions are going to be made. Hopefully all that'll work itself out soon. So thanks for joining. First time here, please give me a like and a thumbs up. Let's keep that YouTube algorithm happy. Appreciate everybody's support. And till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.